it was really powerful. We cheers to it and said to bigger tables in the future. And that, to me, was the validation I needed to say, like, we don't need to be at your table. We built our own.
I'm Tom Ward, and over the last couple years, I've had the chance to sit down with some of the biggest celebrities and influencers in the world. What I've always found most fascinating is the stories of the businesses that they've built behind the scenes. On this show, you'll get an inside look of what it takes to build a successful business from some of the biggest celebrities, business people, and up-and-coming entrepreneurs in the world. This is The Tom Ward Show.
Hey guys, welcome to the Tom Ward Show, where we talk to the biggest entrepreneurs in the world. I'm sitting here with Deepica Mutyala.
Yep.
There we go.
You got it.
Entrepreneur, founder of Live Tinted, an all-inclusive cosmetics brand. I'm really excited to sit down with you. I started out kind of my career interviewing creators.
Yeah.
And, I've sat down with every big one. And I've done some beauty gurus too.
Which ones?
I've done Patrick Starr.
Amazing.
Bretman Rock's one of my favorites.
Yeah. So great.
So I did a bunch, but when I look at you, even though you were a creator first, I look at you from an outsider, like entrepreneur first.
Same.
And I was wondering why that is, and I want to hear your opinion, but for me, I think it's because you've done such a good job of building a community.
Thank you.
You're the brand. Mm-hmm. So you're a creator, but also entrepreneur. So how do you look at yourself? Do you agree?
I totally agree. And I feel like I was an accidental influencer. I just fell into it. Which, a lot of people are, right? Like, even the names you just said. Like, nobody plans, because it wasn't a career to plan to be growing up.
No.
But I think I wanted to be a CEO of my own beauty brand since I was 16. So every decision I made was to get to this point. And so even when I was doing the beauty influencer thing full time, I was very eager to do this. And so I think my audience and just people feel it, that I did the content as a beauty influencer, but it was always like from the angle of the business perspective a little bit. Like, even when I did things, I was like fascinated by problem solution, or like looking at the untapped market of brown girls. You know what I mean? So it was different versus like when you think of like Patrick Starr, who's a friend of mine, like he is an incredible creator. Like, his content is just, I know how excited he gets to make the tutorials.
Yeah.
I did that because I knew I wanted to serve a community, and they were saying, thank God there's someone who looked like me. So that's what kind of motivated me to do it. But nothing brings me joy more than building this company.
Yeah, and it's, it seems like you did what they always say when starting a business, right? Fill a need, the need in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Hey, there were underrepresented women in the beauty space, mm-hmm. right? You feeling like you were one of them, and there's many out there.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll talk about growing up in Texas and how that kind of led to all this.
Yeah.
But you saw that, you filled the need. So it seems like it was almost easier. Like, if you're solving a problem like that, it seems like it's easier to build a community, because it's like, hey guys, do you feel the same way? Yeah, we feel the same way. Okay, let's all get together and chat.
Yeah, in theory, yes. But I think when you go to like investors and say, hey, I am already an influencer and I want to create this separate brand that doesn't have to do with me, and it's actually about a collective of humans coming together around a shared experience of being not seen in the beauty industry, they see it as, well, you're the one with the audience. Why are you going to invest this money and time into building a separate community? You already have a community. And for me, it was just like very important that this was not an influencer brand, and it was truly built for a collective of humans.
Yeah, and maybe that is. I think that sums up why you look at yourself, and I look at you as entrepreneur first, because the other way to go is slap your name on eyeshadow.
Yeah.
Right, at the end of the day, you're all making similar products, right? Each has a different story and serves a different customer, right?
Which, by the way, like, I used to be so embarrassed because of my immigrant parents, which we were talking about, since your wife has immigrant parents. And I used to be so embarrassed to call myself an influencer, because I have my dad in my ear that wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer,
or engineer,
or marry one of the above. Like, that was always the narrative. And so I feel like for me, being a businesswoman was acceptable to my father, but like to say I'm a YouTuber and I'm making videos for a living was just not a thing.
Yeah.
So I think maybe a piece of me wanted to be called an entrepreneur because of that. But now that I'm in it and I see the power of influencers and creators in the world, and it's not going anywhere, it's just growing, people should be proud to own that name and title, because it is phenomenal that people have been able to create multi-million-dollar businesses from it.
Yeah, it's not just the girl in her bedroom who likes doing makeup tutorials.
Yeah.
It's important now if you're CEO of a publicly traded company
Exactly.
to have some kind of social presence and build your brand, whether it's on LinkedIn or Twitter, whatever platform
Totally.
you're kind of on.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you want to have a makeup brand. You go back. So you're 16.
Yeah.
You grew up in Texas.
I did. Sugarland.
You wanted to build a beauty brand, but at the time you didn't look like the other girls in your class. You're in Texas, the land of big blonde hair and blue eyes.
Yep.
And I read somewhere that you used to do blonde streaks in your hair and you'd wear blue contacts.
Oh, yeah.
When did you feel confident enough in yourself to go, that ain't me? I like my dark hair and my dark eyes.
It took a very long time. Because, the interesting thing is anyone that's from Sugarland will know this, that Sugarland does have a lot of South Asian people, but they weren't the cool kids. The people you saw in the media or you saw in schools that were like considered the cool people you wanted to be friends with. That's what I wanted. And so that's why I transformed myself, because I was like, why can't I fit in just because of my skin tone? So I transformed myself. I avoided the sun at all costs and wanted to be as fair skinned as possible. Like, I didn't go sit by the pool and tan like all my girlfriends did.
My wife, that was drummed into her head as a kid. My
yeah.
wife is Afghan.
Yeah.
Her dad still says you're getting too dark.
Yeah.
You're getting too dark.
Oh, yeah.
It's like reverse racism, kind of.
Colorism is like a very real big thing that's like globally an issue. And so part of what I want to do with the beauty industry is showcase people of all different skin tones so we normalize the idea of dark skin, because my vitamin D levels are low because I was avoiding the sun my entire childhood. So I think for me, I think it took probably until I started this company, honestly. This is kind of a love child to that little girl who wasn't confident, and even in my 20s, all of it, like I was still figuring myself out, and a lot of it has to do with the media and the world when I was growing up.
Yeah. Now, so you got this dream, but at the same time you have immigrant parents who want the careers you just mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So there's a path to those careers. You go to college, you get your undergrad degree, you go post-grad, and you pursue whatever career, that they want.
What they want. Exactly,
right?
yeah.
So it sounds like you did the undergrad thing, right?
I did.
And then where did you work after that? Did you go into the beauty industry, or where'd you go to work after college?
Yeah, so even in college, I was a marketing major. I went to the University of Texas, and I did the marketing major thing because I felt like that was the only way that I could go be in the beauty industry, because they wouldn't let me go be a makeup artist. They wouldn't. The idea of starting a company, it's like, LOL, good luck. They thought it was a pipe dream. Mm-hmm. So I figured if I'm a marketing major, I can go work for the biggest beauty brand in the world, have that credibility, go to business school, Harvard Business School, HBS, make them happy, and then go start my brand. Because if I had that Harvard stamp of approval, I felt like they could go tell their friends, oh, she went to Harvard. The rest that she does after that is like, well, who cares?
Doesn't even matter.
Doesn't
matter for the rest. Once
that's it.
Somebody tells me they went to Harvard Business School.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're working at McDonald's. To me, they're like an elite level.
Exactly that. So that's what I wanted to do, just to like get them off my back. And so I did do the L'Oreal internship. I did a case competition in my university that made me win an internship. Best experience ever. They didn't give me a full-time offer. They said I wasn't a strong enough of a marketer.
Huh.
LOL.
Okay.
And then
Isn't it funny that now that's
it
what
feels
you
good.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels really good. I've been in like a L'Oreal commercial since then. So like, and who knows who will one day potentially buy us. I don't know. But I just feel like it all happens for a reason, clearly, right? But at the time I was like devastated. I was like, now what? I had a plan.
I'm not good enough.
Yeah, you doubt everything.
My parents were right. Yep.
All the things. And then so my first job out of college was at Victoria's Secret's corporate office. It's called L Brands in Columbus, Ohio.
Yep.
Have you been to Columbus?
But I saw the documentary on Netflix, which was very eye-opening.
It was eye-opening, and I'll tell you, like I when I was there, it was really interesting. They have really smart people and very like senior people. Like my manager was maybe 20 years older than me, and I was right out of college, which was like a really cool experience to learn from.
Yeah.
But that was another example of people who told me I applied to be a merchant very early into my job because I was like, I had an analyst job. It was not what I wanted, but the company was cool and it was in fashion, which like kind of was beauty. They had a beauty arm in New York. So I was like, maybe I'll get there in like a year.
Okay.
I applied to be a merchant, which again is like the trendsetters for the company.
The cool,
Yes.
just like in high school. They're sticking you in an analyst role. You want this position over here, and it sounds like that's where the cool kids are, and you're stuck with the nerds. And I'm seeing a theme. We're going back to high school here.
Yeah.
You're not good enough to be at the cool kids table.
And
Is that what it feels like to you?
absolutely. And I think I literally still talk to my therapist about this regularly.
I go to
like,
therapy too.
Yeah, amazing.
Of course.
More men should.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like, I think it's a constant trying to make that younger version of yourself proud, but there's that voice of constantly trying to fulfill that younger person's dream too, which was to be cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to be the cool merchant, and
But just pause on that real quick. I don't think that's odd. Even I mean, look at what I do now. I sit down with cool people, right? I still want to be at the cool kids table, and I have to suppress that all the time.
Yeah.
And my family are great at that because, you know, I was interviewing with Paris Hilton at her house, and we just hung out afterwards and talked. And I'm like driving home, like, I'm a pretty big deal. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I get home, my family doesn't give
Do
a
care.
They don't give a
Which is also great and grounding and humbling.
Which is great.
But also, like, why do we care that? Like, you know?
Why do I care?
Yeah, no, I get it.
Because she was cool in my world. And hey, you know, I was there.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're alone in that. I think most people feel like that.
Yeah, but I'm really trying to do the work now of like what makes me feel good, what makes me feel not like the world thinks is cool, but like what's cool to me. And I think what is cool to me is redefining what cool is for like a new generation. Like I want your kids growing up today to see the mirror and look at themselves and say, what's really cool is that I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm just me. I'm doing me. My identity's cool. So that's what we're working on with Live Tinted. But so I applied to that merchant role at Victoria's Secret, and they rejected me. They told me that I didn't understand trends. And so again, I had to pivot and find my way to New York and be in the beauty industry. And so I started working for a beauty startup called Birchbox.
Oh yeah. I know
Yeah,
Birchbox.
cool.
Yeah.
I was like one of the early employees, and it was the best experience. I mean, the two women went to Harvard Business School,
Okay.
so it made my parents happy.
Nice.
They were like, okay, well, they'll write her recommendation letter for Harvard Business School. You know?
So they're still thinking this is a phase. She's gonna go to Harvard.
Totally, because I had to take a pay cut, and I had to move to New York City from Columbus and take a pay cut. And I left a massive Fortune 500 company. Like what one Victoria's Secret store made in a day is what Birchbox was making in like a year. It's just the scale was just like not the same, something like that, right? The point is it was very different.
But if you're in the back of my mind, I want to build a brand, you're not going to learn that from Victoria's Secret because they're, you know, an 800-pound gorilla at the time. They set the trends. They do what they want.
Yeah.
But you will learn it at Birchbox where it's like, we need to make payroll this week.
Exactly,
Like, we
exactly.
need to sell something.
I think being at Victoria's Secret's office was cool to learn about the importance of leadership and management because they really did value that. And when you're at a startup, it's always kind of put on the back burner because you're just going and executing and doing, and you're kind of around young people. Like my manager was like a year older than me. So it's one of those things where I learned different things from both pieces because, you know, when you scale a business, you do have to put parameters into place and things are different. But Birchbox was the exact experience I needed at that point in my life. Two women, badass female founders, beauty industry, New York City. It was a networking opportunity and like it was a business school kind of learning curve for 3 years. It was awesome. And while I was there is when this whole world of influencer started to pop up.
So what year are we talking at the time?
2000. So now it's 2015. I started working there in 2012.
Okay.
So it's 2015, and I remember seeing Birchbox was just starting to be like, okay, should we start paying people? Like, what's going on with this influencer world? I had an interest in that space, and you know, at a startup, if you have an interest in something, you can just go. I mean, granted, you have to do your job well to be able to get that opportunity. I think that's important to know too. But I felt like an owner in the business. I mean, everyone had equity, so it makes you feel like I walked up every day to that office feeling like this was my company, and I worked my butt off. So I started working on the influencer programs, and I realized there was nobody who looked like me doing this.
It was all white girls.
All white girls, or just at least there was definitely not a brown girl.
No.
And I was like, well, there's billions of us in the world. this industry is worth billions of dollars, and then there's this like new platform called YouTube with a lot of billions of ad revenue happening. So there was just this disconnect of a human to represent that like intersection.
Well, just stop there real quick. I kind of made a name for myself and started interviewing influencers, and around the time of the pandemic, TikTok was blowing up.
Oh yeah.
So I'm doing Addison Rae and Bryce Hall and all these huge TikTok stars. And after I looked at the YouTube channel after about 3-4 months, I go, it's all white kids.
Yeah,
it's all
that's a good point.
Good-looking white kids.
It's a good point.
And you have to be very aware of that kind of thing now. And I was like, but I just want to interview the top people. They're going to get the most views. The most people are going to care about them. But it's like, you can't. You got to go out and make sure everybody's represented.
It's like a chicken and an egg. It's like, how do you expect these people to grow and get supported if they're not being supported? But then they're not going to get supported because they're not the biggest.
Yep.
So it did suck, but I mean, my second video. Okay, so sorry. So going back.
We didn't get to the video yet.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot.
We will.
So I was working there and I saw an opportunity and I just started to work with them on their influencer program, and I kind of just made it because I've been obsessed with the beauty industry since I was a little girl. And so I started a blog when I was working at Victoria's Secret because I was bored, and it was very much a 9-to-5, and I was living in Columbus, Ohio, and I just wanted to be in the Big Apple so bad. So I was itching my interest for the beauty industry while I was at Victoria's Secret. When I started working at Birchbox, they found that blog just out of chance, and they asked me if I wanted to do editorial content for them.
Wow.
So it was really cool because Birchbox was a company of a ton of really smart women and people, but not a lot of beauty enthusiasts, shockingly. Yeah, it was a lot of really smart women who understood a business opportunity, but like a beauty junkies, I could count on like two hands how many people at the company were like that, and I was one of them. I was obsessed with makeup. And so I started to do content for them again in my free time. And
what were you doing? Just like little YouTube videos?
It was blogs at that time,
Oh,
yeah. Because they had a blog for their site that they would pay, like brand partners would pay to get content featuring them on their blog. So I would be like the brown girl showing how it looked on brown girl skin, which I was so excited because I never had someone to reference on the internet at all or in media to say, wow, that red lipstick would look really good on me. Like I was looking at like Tyra Banks and maybe Kim Kardashian, which totally not my skin tones.
Yeah.
And so it was a really cool feeling. I started to grow a small following. I had like 5,000 followers. And
what did it feel like to get that positive feedback? Because
really
I started
good.
out blogging, and when you start, nobody's reading.
Yeah.
You're lucky if you get 20 people to read an article, right? But for me, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this all the time. You got to love the process, not the end game. How good did it feel when you made a connection and somebody told you, which I'm sure they did, hey, you know what? Thank you so much for doing that because I've never seen somebody who looks like me talk about how to do my makeup.
It's my why. Like, I think it really is what keeps me going, and that kind of, those DMs, those comments, those everything, it's just always these brown girls who say it with such like emotion. It's heavy for them because it really made them feel like they wanted to transform themselves. They had a very similar narrative growing up. And I think, with the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur, it literally, from the first blog post, first comment, to the viral video, to now, it's the same thing. It's just, that's what keeps you going because you feel like you're making a difference.
Did, at the time, so you're doing these videos and you're doing the content and you're getting the positive feedback and you grow a following of 5,000 people, when did the seed get planted like, hey, this is the business I wanted to do when I was 16 that might not, I knew I wanted a beauty business, but now is when I'm finding out what exactly that could be. Was the seed planted then that this could turn into something?
So, yes and no, in the sense of I was doing content for Birchbox, but not on my own channels. But because of that, I started to grow. I had like 5,000 on Instagram because of that. But that's when I saw the YouTube game, and I was like, this person is getting paid what to do what? I could totally do this. And again, I didn't see anyone who looked like me doing it. And I was like, you know what? Again, I enjoyed it. That like truly the feeling of like swatching a lipstick on my hand brings me joy. I love the feeling, the product. It just, I love it. So I was like, maybe I should start a YouTube channel for fun. And so it was my New Year's resolution of January 2015. Wake up and start a YouTube channel.
Okay.
And the second video was the one that I shared a tip that I had learned from a makeup artist, which was, she was using an actual color corrector on me. So the whole concept here, to someone who probably doesn't wear a lot of makeup, maybe you do, but to each their own, you know. So a color corrector is a product that's like a red pigment that is used on my skin tone to mask my dark circles before you put on your foundation.
Now, time out there, because I saw the video and that you're very well known for that.
Yeah.
She made a video, obviously, of using lipstick to remove the circles under her eyes. And I'm not a makeup guy, right? But I go, your skin is kind of brown.
Yeah.
Lipstick is red?
Yeah.
So how does red cover up brown? I don't understand.
So when you break it down and look at color theory and look at like a color wheel, you see what colors counteract the other colors. So it's like oranges canceled out blues, greens canceled out by reds. And so under your eyes, when you have dark circles, there's actually undertones of those colors that are being counteracted by the red pigment. That when you just put on a foundation, if you have dark enough circles like I did, I still do, but like it's gotten better because I have some great skincare products in my life. But at the time it was very dark. Foundation didn't really cover it because they weren't making it for people for my skin tone.
Okay.
So that was the theory of color correcting. And so she was using an actual color corrector. And I was like, what are you doing? Why can't I just use a red lipstick? And her point was, she said a lot of reasons, like, well, the chemicals and blah, 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 the texture, and all I heard was like, yes, you can. Because I'm always about simplifying my beauty routine and like making it easy for the everyday girl like myself, because I'm not a makeup artist.
Yeah.
So my second video on YouTube, I used a red lipstick under my eyes to mask dark circles. And it now has 11 million views, 10, something like that.
Incredible.
Wild.
And not only that, first of all, it is so rare. I mean, your second video out of the gate, I mean...
I didn't even have ad revenue activated.
That doesn't even happen yet.
Yeah,
it just doesn't happen.
No.
So if you're watching this, don't expect your second video to do that.
Maybe on TikTok, by the way, the world has
TikTok,
changed.
it's easier.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I'm talking January of 2015.
Yeah.
My second video, and it was because of BuzzFeed. Remember that thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely remember BuzzFeed.
Yeah. BuzzFeed changed my life. And it's so funny. There's a funny story of I was getting my hair done, and there was somebody next to me doing a BuzzFeed story, and I was like, excuse me, like, do you mind introducing me to this woman? She wrote a story about me using red lipstick under my eyes, and honestly, it changed my life. I quit my job after that happened, and she was like, that was me.
Shut up.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so Augusta has been a friend of mine ever since. She's changed my life. That story transformed everything. It gave me the confidence to quit my job and go be a beauty influencer full time, which then gave me an audience that gave me the confidence to start my own brand and just go for it. It was just like a ripple effect.
So let's talk about the ripple effect.
Okay.
So this blows up.
Yeah.
Now, you're a creator, I'm a creator. There's a lot of people who can have a viral video and that's the end. I mean, just like a musician has a one-hit wonder and that's it, and they spend the rest of their life trying to chase that. I did it once, why can't I get 10 million views again? You know, and they drive themselves insane.
Yeah.
You do it. You've got a good job at a startup with people you like, you're passionate about, they're letting you kind of do stuff you want to do. You're involved in influencer marketing, you know, you're interested in beauty community. This is stuff you love.
Yeah.
And you go, I had a video that blew up. Now, granted, it got you on what?
The Today Show.
The Today Show,
yeah.
right? So it got you big coverage, but how do you quit your job? Again, back to immigrant parents, right?
Totally. That was the voice in my head, but for
Do
sure.
not quit your job for what?
Yeah.
Like I said, you didn't have ad revenue
No,
activated,
I was not.
So there was no money coming in from that yet.
No, there wasn't.
That's a ballsy thing to do.
I know. It's so crazy because now
What do you think, looking back?
When I look back, I had a delusional amount of self-belief and like zero fear that now when I think about it, I'm like, what the was I thinking? Like I now am thinking, because, you know, I guess as I get older and things feel less like I have more of a risk, I guess I had no issues with taking risks then. I was fearless. It was almost like, to me, of course I'm going to go for it. I have this moment of 15 minutes of fame that I could just be a cool memory in my life, or I could spin it into my dream career.
Yeah.
And I went for the latter, and it was an email from the Today Show that gave me the confidence. Because I think, again, going back to the immigrant parents, being a YouTuber felt like a fake job that I could not go to my parents and say I was doing.
No.
But going on the Today Show and calling myself like a TV show expert or on-air beauty expert felt like bragging rights to their uncles and aunties and stuff. So,
which is what it's all about.
Which is what it's all about.
Yes.
So it's crazy though. I had so many people telling me, babe, that's not how it works. You don't go on the Today Show once and then become a regular. You go on and it's the same way they say with a viral video. It's a cool moment in your life and you move on.
Yeah, you never hear from them again.
And I just didn't believe it or agree with anybody. I was so convinced I was going to be the Indian Hoda. Like, I was going to be just sitting here interviewing people, the first brown girl to ever do it. And it wasn't exactly like that, but it also wasn't exactly not like that. My sister was my model on the Today Show. My dad was backstage sitting next to Kid Rock. It was hilarious.
Your dad is the greatest.
He's so cute. He's the best. He really is. He's the best father for sure. He, I wish more immigrant parents and dads went to therapy to solve their own trauma, but
there's a stigma associated with certain communities.
They would never. I mean, no. I've tried, but best father, and I'm so grateful. But
everybody check out our videos on social media. I just love it, and my wife totally related to you. I DM'd you the story, but just so you know. My wife, I tell her, hey, I'm interviewing this influencer, this one. She doesn't care. She doesn't know who anybody is. When I told her I was sitting down with you this week, she knew exactly who you were, but really because of your dad.
Yeah.
She knew you because you're a cute dad who reminded her of her dad, who always wants to make sure she's got food, always wants to pack when she goes on a trip. I saw the one your dad's packing, you're packing for a trip, mangoes. Like, dude, what are we going to do with mangoes, man?
But I always land and I'm so happy he packed the mangoes every time. In the moment, I'm like rolling my eyes, but every time. And I post those videos because I want young girls to be proud of their parents and love their parents, because I used to be so embarrassed of mine growing up. Mm-hmm. And so if I can do that and show people that, like, and also connect people from different cultural backgrounds, right? Mm-hmm. You said your wife is from Afghanistan and I'm Indian, and there is that commonality, and I love that connection.
She totally related to that.
I love that. And I want to do that through beauty too, because there are so many dark circles, hyperpigmentation. Is that both your wife and myself can relate to that issue.
Yes, my wife deals with the same thing with the dark circles.
So that's my hope. I think it just helps people feel like we have more in common, and it makes people want to educate themselves, and it just separates all the division that we have,
Mm-hmm.
So anyways.
You're a pretty inclusive person.
I try to be.
But back to quitting your job.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, because this is such a big deal.
Yeah.
Looking back, I recently did that about 3 months ago.
Wild.
Which it's scary as hell.
Especially because he has a wife and 2 children.
Yes.
Like, it was just me, right? Like, at that moment in my 20s, you can be a little more fearless.
Of
There's
course.
not anyone to support.
You don't have as many bills. You don't have as many responsibilities.
So
but I don't have what you have. And maybe it's because I have more responsibilities, but that confidence that, why wouldn't I do this?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I did. I was delusionally fearless.
Yeah. I mean, it took me a year to finally come to that decision to make sure that, but with responsibilities, you have to make sure that the budget's okay, and you've got this much cash, and you have to do all these other things to make sure you're covered.
Fair.
But you talked about you minimized your risk at the time. And I didn't know what that meant. How did you minimize your risk? It seems like all risk.
Fair, but I was at Birchbox for 3 years at that point, and I was already thinking about, am I going to go to HBS? I'm going to have them write my recommendation letter. They said that they would.
Okay.
Am I going to go start my own company? Or now that this video went viral, I was getting an opportunity to stay at the company and be an influencer for them. There were so many things, right, that were like great plan Bs, but I had this one window to just go for it and say, there is a world where I could potentially take this one viral video and spin it into a world that gets me closer to my end goal dream, which was building this beauty brand. Mm-hmm. And also, like, I could go work for another beauty brand. There were so many things I knew I could do as plan Bs.
Yeah.
So it almost felt like the riskiest, scary thing to do was to not take the leap of faith.
That is so amazing. And I think it's a good inspiration for others out there who are looking to do the same thing. Do you have advice? I mean, part of these interviews too are always to give advice and suggestions to the aspiring entrepreneur, or the aspiring creator in this case. And now it's kids' number one career aspiration.
Crazy.
But I think the thing you just hit on is what a lot of people miss is it's all or nothing. I have to quit today so I can post 7 TikToks a day, and that's what the algorithm wants, and blah, 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 and you just go down this rabbit hole. Where for you and for me too, it's like I had a 20-year sales career. I can always go get another corporate sales job if this doesn't work out. You go, I can always go to Harvard Business School. I'm still young enough.
Maybe not Harvard,
right?
but I could go to business school.
Okay, right. You know, you go to the University of
One
Texas
day. Yes,
Business
there you go.
School, right?
Yeah.
You already went there. You could probably get in.
Totally.
You know?
I could get into Harvard. There'll be a case study at Harvard one day, hopefully, about my company.
Of course there will. But, you know, do you think that's important to kind of have a plan B in the back of your mind in case it doesn't work out?
So I don't know if I would say it's important for like kids these days as much as I would say from my immigrant parent mindset in the back of my head.
Which is a good mindset.
It's totally fair.
That. Yeah.
I think it is a very risky, changing world, as we just talked about YouTube to now TikTok to like what the hell is next, you know? Mm-hmm. For me, I think the smartest thing I did was I didn't take the leap of faith until I had some proof points, which was my viral video.
Yeah.
And I did that while I was working at my day job. And I did that on my weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what I always tell people is test the waters before you jump fully. Make sure there's something that makes you feel like there's some sort of validation in your soul that this is the right time. Mm-hmm. Don't just wake up and say, you know what, my corporate job, I'm meant to go be a TikToker. Mm-hmm. By the way, there are people I know that has worked for, but I personally just know that I couldn't do that because it is so important to me to make my family proud. It just is. And I think that fear of that would freak me out. But I felt fearless because I knew I'd already had a good base in my, my track record to go back and fall back on something else.
You know, we were talking before about you're relatable. You're very relatable because, me and I think everybody roots for underdogs. You were an underdog that made it in a business really, there wasn't room for you in that business and you thrived in it, right? But while you're relatable, there's also something very different about you than the average person out there. I heard you just said, hey, I made a New Year's resolution and I was going to make a video. And I didn't have fancy equipment. I had my phone and I figured it out in a weekend how to do it, right? And you just seem like you have that attitude where, perfectionism, I don't know if it does or not, gets in the way. With you, it seems more like, I can figure this out. Whatever it is, I don't know what Patrick Starr knows about being a creator at the time. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'll never get to that level, but I can figure out a lot of stuff and be able to do this.
Yeah,
where does that come from?
I think I didn't care what people thought. It's funny because some of my closest friends now tell me like, Deepica, now all these people are supporting you from the Indian community, but I remember when you were first posting selfies and making YouTube videos, they all were laughing about you behind your back. And it's like, I didn't even realize that was happening because I had such like blinders on and I saw that I had no connections into the beauty industry because Indian people that was not a job or a career.
Your uncle didn't work at a cosmetics company.
Zero. Yeah. I tried. There was like one girlfriend that I had that like interned for like Bad Boy and Diddy for a summer and I like did everything I could to get to know her. Mm-hmm. But that was like such a stretch and again, all the things. It was not like there was no phone call somebody could make.
Yeah. So you had to do it and figure it out.
I had to figure it out. And so what I found is that every day at my job at Birchbox, I would use as a networking opportunity. I was surrounded by some brilliant people, and it afforded me the opportunity to meet some amazing, really famous people. When I was doing videos, we would bring on some famous people onto it to do videos with us, and I got to meet some of the most interesting people in the world. Jessica Alba, Meghan Markle, like these were all like really awesome opportunities, and I formed real connections with these people. Because I was myself. I think that's something that you also have as a skill. Like when you are yourself, when you walk into a room, it kind of makes other people feel comfortable being themselves too.
But again, there's something different about you. Most people freeze up in those situations.
Yeah.
I get invited to things, to PR people always trying to, pitch me a story that I read or something. And I always ignore them. But Mindy Kaling had a new product coming out. Yeah. She had a partnership. And I know you know Mindy, and I was like, my wife loves her. So, hey, let's go to this lunch. I hate going out, I hate going to the stuff, but she likes it. I'm going to be a good husband, we're going to go. Yeah. She sees Mindy Kaling, she freezes up.
Yeah.
Most people are like that. To me, it's like, hey, Mindy, you mind? I had no problem. Mindy, do you mind taking a picture with my wife real quick? She's a big fan. Mm-hmm. Like, that seems like a normal thing to say.
Yeah.
In an event in public. I'm not bothering at her dinner. Yeah. Like, she knew what she was getting when she did this. But what makes you just feel like yourself?
It's funny.
Around these people, around a Jessica Alba, not only a beautiful woman, not only a successful actress, but an amazing entrepreneur too at the same time. I mean, she has everything.
And I think that third part was why I really cared to get to know her. And I didn't fangirl. I went to her as a businesswoman to a businesswoman. And it wasn't a public event. It was her in a hotel lobby having a drink with somebody. And I was having a drink with someone next to her. Mm-hmm. And they were like, Jessica Alba's behind you. I was like, I have to go introduce myself. And again, this goes back now when I think back.
Most people don't do that. And they kick themselves when they go home that night and for the next week and maybe forever going, I should have said something.
Yeah, I know. It's weird, I think. But the way I said it to her was like, I'm Deepica, I'm a beauty. I said, the way I always approach it is, what can I say in 30 seconds that makes them want to know me, not the other way around?
100%. It's all about making a connection and finding, for me, it's about making common ground quickly.
Yes.
Because you don't have much time.
Nope.
You got 10, 20 seconds. Jessica Alba is going to zone out after 10, 20 seconds. Yeah. So you better find something quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have any advice? Because like I just talked about, most people have trouble with that. They have trouble networking. They feel like an imposter. Imposter syndrome is big now. I suffer from it sometimes too.
Totally, same.
What do you tell them? Do you have any advice on how to get over that and how to do it?
I think for me, it really was. I don't know how to even say this because I don't want to lie.
Don't lie.
Yeah, I don't want to lie. I really had a delusional level of self. There was no option besides you want to know me. And by the way, there was no other way this was going to happen if I didn't go do it for myself. And I think like a lot of people who have dreams and aspirations, it is very sometimes scary to go out there and do it. But if you want it that badly and you feel like it's almost like your purpose, which is exactly what I feel, it's not going to come to me. It just won't. So if you have that conversation with yourself and just be like, why not me? Why not go do this? Why not right now? You kind of just talk yourself into this moment of just go. What is the worst that could happen? She ignores you? Cool. She didn't know you before anyways.
Yeah. She'll never remember this moment ever again.
Ever again.
Right?
And try to be yourself. And if that even means you're a shy person who's like a little nervous, just be like, I'm really nervous to do this, but I just had to come meet you because I'm an entrepreneur and I needed to go meet you and here's what I'm doing and I think it's brilliant. Whatever you say in that 30 seconds, but don't try to project this energy. That just really was who I am and it is who I am. So when I met her, I was just like, Jessica, I have your product in my bag right now. I do the Today Show, blah, 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 like whatever it was. And she's honestly just an amazing human and wants to support people, especially other women of color. So it really I lucked out that she was a great human. But if she wasn't, I would have gone and got my drink and it would have been moving on.
Yeah. You talk about doing it yourself and you had to figure it out. Now, I read that your dad, after you didn't tell him for a couple months, after you went in this direction, finally you had to have this conversation. And afterwards, I'm not sure if it was right after or later, he offered you a check to start you on your journey. Yeah. And you said it meant the world to you. It meant more than the money he was going to give you. So you ended up ripping up the check. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And it was, I think...
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
What did you mean by it, that him offering it to you meant more than the actual money?
I think anyone with immigrant parents just wants to hear the words, I'm proud of you, come out of their mouth. Then you feel like you're a success, that you've made it. Not just immigrant parents, any parent. It feels that much heavier because you know all the hardships they went through to get to this country and get to this place. My dad was like working in a village in India and now he's here and supporting a family of 4, giving me everything in the world I wanted. So all I wanted to do was give something back to him. And for him to say he's proud of me, and his exact words were, don't think of this as me giving my daughter money, but investing in a business I believe in. I mean, I literally cried. Like I broke down. And so I didn't need his money. I needed that as another level of I guess, confidence that it gave me to go for it. Because now my dad's on my side.
Yeah.
And I think before I thought he wasn't. And so it was like, damn, now I'm like really unstoppable because I have my family.
Yeah.
So now what? Let's go.
So now what? You've got your community, you got your blog going.
Yeah.
How do you turn that? I think part of the success, too, as an outsider who knows nothing about the cosmetic industry, I think what you did that was really smart was every other brand does it backwards.
Yeah.
We start a product, here we are, we got to be on social media, we need to build a community. Everybody says we got to build a community.
Yeah.
Who's our community? How do we go get a community? You said, let's build a community first, and then we'll go. So you focused on building that community first, right, before the brand. Was that well thought out, or just kind of, you just started writing and connecting, and it just kind of went from there?
Yeah, I think it really goes back to like going from the, I started at the corporate side, then I was at a beauty startup, and then I became a beauty influencer, and then I was going to start a beauty brand. I saw the different pieces of this industry and saw that there was an opportunity for people of color to come together around this shared common experience of being left out of this space. So I didn't want this to be called Deep Beauty, which, by the way, I have like doodles of me as a kid, like thinking the name was going to be called Deep Beauty. Also trademark reasons it's taken. But blessing in disguise, because I didn't want this to be about me. I wanted this to be a collective of people. And also just, again, like I loved the conversations that we were starting that I already saw on my own channels from just creating content. So yeah, I think it was very much intentional. I was more excited about doing that than launching the first product, because I didn't want to just put another product into the world that already existed or didn't feel special or spoke to this community. So we started as a community platform, build an audience. I think we were at like 75K when we started to like ask them as like a focus group, what do you think is missing from the beauty industry? And just like simple things like Instagram polls. Like I think it's important to share that, because it's like, it's not some intense study that was like bringing people into a room or something. It was
focus groups you're paying, giving a free iPad to. It wasn't like that.
It was a collective of people who already felt connected because they hadn't seen themselves, wanting to help us solve their biggest problems. And they told us their number one concern was hyperpigmentation and dark circles.
Okay.
So from 2015, I had a viral video that now has 10 million, 11 million views, thousands of comments, all saying that they wanted to solve their dark circle hyperpigmentation issue. Now it's 2018, and I'm hearing the exact same thing. Clearly in 3 years, no one has solved that issue. So now I'm like, okay, I assumed that it had been fixed, because by that point, every brand had tried to create dark circle something, because that video went viral, and then every retailer was like, let's create a solution.
Sure.
No one had done it in an authentic way. And I really think that's what made my success work, is I genuinely had this problem. I made a video about it. I created a community for these people, and I asked them, what do you want this to be? Enter our first product, May of 2019, the Hue Stick, which is a multi-stick that works for eye, cheeks, and lips, but also masks dark circles. And it's now won the Allure Best of Beauty Award 3 years in a row.
Wow.
It's very cool.
Talk about a timetable. You quit your job to when you launched. What was the time in between?
Quit my job in 2015, right after the email from the Today Show. I quit that day.
Okay.
It was just the sign. I was looking for my sign. And I mean, everyone told me I wouldn't be a regular. After I did it that first time, they asked me to come on regularly. So I just like constantly things people told me I couldn't do, I did. And so I just kept doing that, I guess. And I just did the brand. So between 2015 to launching the brand, I was focused on building an audience around, kind of became the token brown girl in a bunch of people's campaigns. MAC Cosmetics, L'Oreal.
Okay.
Very full circle.
So you're paying the bills at the time.
Yes.
You've got money coming in. Okay.
Yeah. That's how I was paying the bills. Which, by the way, like I had no clue. The first gig I got, I had an assistant at email and was emailing every person I'd ever met saying, I represent Deepica Mutyala, a beauty influencer, on-air expert for the Today Show. She'd love to work with you. And for like every 7,500 emails, I got one reply. But that's all I really needed. I got that one email. It was like a CoverGirl shoot, which is huge.
Yeah.
They asked me what my day rate was. I threw out what my rent was at the time, and they said yes. And I was like, shit, I could have said like 3x. I had no clue.
I left money on the table.
I left money on the table, but that's how I learned.
Of
and
course.
now I know. I thought I was wild throwing out my rent as the rate. I was like, I can make this much in a day?
Yeah.
So you live and learn. And then that's how I knew what my rate was for the next time and the next time. And then eventually I got representation because they saw my traction and just built.
But no one sat down and said, you know what you do? You need brand deals. You got to pay the bills as you're figuring this thing out. So you need to find the marketing director of all these companies, and you can find them on LinkedIn, and this is how you can find them, and you're going to send them this kind of email, and you're going to come up with a dummy email that it's your fake assistant that you're sending the emails, and this is what you're going to do, right? There's no book that tells you this stuff.
Yeah, no.
You go to Harvard, there's no course at Harvard that's going to tell you this guy. Maybe there will be soon, right? Maybe you'll be teaching
Maybe.
But it was just the confidence, or it sounds like, was it just the, like they say, you burn the bridge behind you so you can't go back. You quit the job. I am laser focused. I'm getting these good signs along the way, whether it's going back on the Today Show or my dad telling me he believes in me, so I've got that as a confidence booster, and just using that to kind of go down the road. Is that kind of how, what inspired you? What drove you? Like, where does this come from?
Yeah, honestly, everything you just said felt like bricks. It was like just helping me go and keep going and keep going. And there was the validation, not in volume, but I was growing my social following, and girls just being like, oh my God, Deepica, like, thank you. I got a lot of thank yous. Because of you, I'm going to go be a ballerina, and I'm going to go do this. Like, those things, it was it really was my fuel. I don't know. I really feel like I was just meant to do this. And again, as you say it now, I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, what?
It's the innocence of youth, right? You don't know any better. It's like, what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
So how was the initial success of the first product?
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. And also, like, before the moment I knew that I was done being a beauty influencer and to start this brand it was 3 years at this point, the same way it was 3 years at Birchbox. And I feel like I had done every campaign. And what I found myself doing was, when brands asked me to be in their campaigns, my excitement and joy just wasn't in it. And so I would suggest other influencers. I was like, hey, there's this other Indian girl. You should hire her.
Wow.
Yeah, like, I was just sick of being the token, honestly. Like, it was like, there should be more than one of us. And actually, the part of the problem and why we there's a scarcity mentality and we're kind of against each other is because the world and media has made us believe only one of us can make it.
Yeah.
So how do we break that narrative? And it takes a level of confidence and security financially to be able to do that. I know that. So a few years in, I felt like I was there. And I started to suggest other people. And I was like, wow, I really enjoy the business side of this more than being the face. So then I got approached specifically by a man who, a white man, no offense, but a white man who wanted to...
No, did my people do something bad?
No, they actually didn't, but it was what I actually need to thank him because he approached me and said, I'll give you 10% of my company to be the face, was what made me get a kick in the butt to say, if I don't start this man is going to, and this has been my dream since I was 16. Not his business opportunity, it's mine.
Wait, a white guy is going to start a cosmetics company for brown girls?
He had an Indian wife, so he wanted to, his daughter was
So he kind of gets like a pass?
And, well, that's why I think he wanted me as the face, right?
Yeah, of course.
But his intention was his daughter was half Indian, so he wanted to do it for his daughter, which was really sweet. Okay. It really was.
Good motive.
It really was a good motive, but he didn't want to be 50-50. He wanted to give me 10% to be his face. Yeah. And it just, every narrative I've heard of this was what motivated me to say, like, I want to build this myself. Really hard decision, by the way. Again, now in hindsight, but in the moment I was like, F that. Like, how dare you think that you can give me 10% of the business that I know.
Yeah. And I've been building in my head since I was 16.
Right. But I had so many people saying to me at that time, well, Deepica, a small piece of something big versus a big piece of something small, it may not be a bad thing. He's built a company before. He knows what he's doing. All very true. But I'm so proud of myself for not doing it that way. I took the hard way and oof. Now I say I'm proud of myself, but there's been many times that I remember looking back and thinking, damn, maybe I should have just done it like that, because they are right what they said, but what the problem with me hearing that is you're betting on me being small.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what I needed to hear.
Like, you're never going to be as big as him.
Right.
So 10% of his company is going to be worth more than 100% of your little rinky-dink company. That's kind of what they're saying by saying that,
That is
right?
what they're saying, and which is exactly why I had to go do it.
Yeah, like, these guys.
Literally.
I'm going to be bigger than him.
Right. He didn't end up doing it. But
oh, he didn't? I was going to say, are you bigger than him? So
doesn't exist.
Yeah, so the answer is yes. Right?
But he's already a successful entrepreneur. I don't want to judge him.
I don't want to say anything bad.
But I'm proud that I decided to do it on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard about your first product launch that you wanted to do this beautiful, you were on Instagram and you were an influencer, so of course aesthetics is important and important in beauty.
Yeah.
You want to have this beautiful grid pattern, have everything look perfect, but it didn't go down like that at all. What did it look like?
People just really have no idea what goes on behind the scenes of starting a company.
So what goes on behind the scene for that?
Well, at the same time that you're trying to get this product launched, right? Because that's actually how you get your revenue. Before that, there's no revenue, reoccurring revenue of any kind.
You need some yesterday. Yeah.
Literally yesterday. But in that same time, you're hiring people, you're trying to keep the manufacturer going, trying to make sure it gets into the warehouse and build out a marketing plan and make sure that you have any kind of capital to keep this going. And I was still going on with the influencer stuff because that was what was paying my bills.
How do you have time?
You don't sleep.
Yeah.
It's not recommended, but I didn't sleep. I don't know anyone. Some people who say like work-life balance is so important. It's a luxury to say that.
I believe that too.
In the early days, right? Like now I can say, okay, it's important for me to know that if I take care of myself, I can take care of everyone else in the company. And so I prioritize it now. But again, for the purposes of my business. And so I just think it's important because people out there, I think it's this false like toxic positivity thing in the world that's like, you can do everything and blah, blah, blah. Like I had no life. I still don't really feel like I have a life. I'm working on it. But
do you think, going back to your parents, do you think as immigrants, they give a shit about work-life balance? It's like, I need to figure out how to make $100 more this week. Okay, like my father-in-law delivered he had a job and he delivered newspapers from his rinky-dinky truck at 4 a.m. before he went to his other job, right? There's no work-life balance.
No.
But I'd like to do that, but I really need my 7 hours sleep, and that's going to put me in a good
no
space.
No way, that is
that's
not a thing.
Even a thought in your head.
Oh no, he worked every overtime shift. Every single overtime shift.
As your parents, I'm sure, did.
Yeah, exactly.
And as you did when you were starting this company, same kind of mentality, right?
I definitely have the work ethic of an immigrant parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is probably part of the reason for your success, too.
Yeah, I think so.
Looking at other people who have done this, do you see, and people probably coming you advice for, all the time and stuff, too, how does laziness feel to you when you see it? Or seeing somebody who might not necessarily be lazy, but one of my wife's friends, and I don't want to name names,
don't go there.
Of course, right? But she's one of these people that is always on to the next thing. And hey, today I'm going to be this, and then there's a new Instagram page for that business, and then after a month it's this. But they just talk about something, and they're never going to take the first step. How do you deal with that?
Yeah.
And when you see that,
does
it drive you insane?
So for a long time, I couldn't even be around friends that were like that. And I never got the way they thought and processed because...
You're so different than that.
Yes, I am so different from that. Like, it didn't make sense to me, people who just wanted to get married and have kids and raise their family at that time. I think I really just disconnected from those humans. Now, I realize you can have everything in the world that you want, but I don't think you can have it all at once.
That's a good point.
And I think at that time, all I wanted was this business to succeed. At this point in my life, I really am deeply craving a personal life, and I have made no time for it at all. Mm-hmm. And so now I look at my friends who did value that and where they are and how happy they are, right? Like at the end of the day, what's the point of any of this if you're not happy?
Yep.
So how dare me, and who am I to judge someone who is happy in their life and what I defined as lazy, but actually they saw as their happiness? Who am I to define that for them?
Yep.
And so now I look back at them and I think, good for you for prioritizing what made you happy, and good for me for prioritizing what made me happy. And they may not be the same definition, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. And now we're at this point where she comes to me for work advice and I come to her about like, should I go on a date? Like, what should I do? Like, and so I think where it did bother me, and this is a whole other conversation, is ex-boyfriends. I was like, you are so lazy. I cannot be around this energy.
Of course not. You're not going to put up with that.
No, I can't.
No.
But that doesn't mean I love my friends and other people in my life who have different priorities and things like that. But I do realize for my partner, there needs to be a level of ambition that we get each other, because that support system needs to be there, because I'm going to always be this person who works really hard.
Yep.
So yeah. Anyways.
Did that make you a better boss, realizing that? Because if you're just of the mentality that everyone should be like me.
Yeah.
Why are they wasting their time with all this stuff? Why do they want to go bowling at 5 o'clock when they could be working on their side hustle or whatever, they're passionate about? Like, what are you doing wasting your time with going to your kid's party when you could be working on this, right? When you expect everybody to be like that and they're not, because let's face it, not a lot of people are self-starters.
Totally.
Not that many, even fewer people have that kind of intense drive.
Yeah.
So when you deal with regular employees, maybe above average employees who aren't as motivated as you are, you could easily become kind of a dictator, right? Or a tyrant kind of boss.
Yeah, you can.
And you keep doing this, blah, blah, blah. But for you kind of realizing that and growing, and maybe therapy helped with that a little bit too, has that made you a better boss?
I would like to think that if an employee was sitting right here, my current employees were sitting right here, they would say, I am that because I've actively am making it a practice I work on every single day. I mean, I will not lie and say the early days I was 24/7 working. Crazy hours at night. I was messaging at late hours. I mean, everything I said I didn't want to be, I was. And I now had to take a step back and realize wow, I want to create a company people are proud to wake up and be at and be excited and not just have this be a stint in the road, but build a career at Live Tinted. Mm-hmm. And to do that, you want people to feel they want a work-life balance is important in that regard. And everyone's definition of that is obviously different. Mm-hmm. I feel very lucky that right now everyone who works at this company is so passionate about what they do, that they do work beyond a typical 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. I sometimes still slack on the weekends, but it's very clear to every employee that they do not need to reply until Monday. But I'm also working on that because, I have had bosses who do that, but that makes you think you should too to get farther in the company. Uh-huh. So I'm working on it. We're still a startup. I think the most important thing is that you're aware and working on it. And I think when you say that and you're honest with employees about that, they give you grace.
So you've had success out of the gate at the company, right? Did you have any stumbles along the way, or for you was it just like that second viral video, like this is easy?
No, oh my gosh! And by the way, success is it's so subjective.
Of course.
And so yes, I had the viral video, which yes, that is nuts. And then yes, when we launched our product, we hit our sales goal for the first month and the first week. And
what did the second product and the third product look like?
That, I think sustainable growth and longevity is the key in this, right? This is a brand I want to be a legacy brand that outlives me, that becomes the next MAC Cosmetics, things like that. That's the tricky part.
What do you mean?
I mean, yeah, what you said, I think a lot of people betted on me once I've already proven a certain level of success that the first product would do well. There would be an initial spike in sales. Yeah. But is this going to be the next $1 billion business?
Yeah. Or is it going to be they made one good product and then the business folds in a year?
It goes, like you said, the same thing as my viral video. Is there going to be another one? Is there going to be another one? And I'm really good at proving people wrong.
Do you deal with self-doubt at all? Or an imposter syndrome? I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Maybe I just got lucky on this. As a creator, I go through that. As entrepreneurs, you go through that. Is that something you had to deal with? Or did you just have that belief that... Did you look at the evidence and go, the other way to look is, hey, I killed it with this one. Yeah. Why can't I do it again?
I think I have a deep insecurity and vulnerability around being a first-time CEO. I am not insecure about being a marketer or a trendsetter and a beauty creator. Those things I know, and I'm really good at being a marketer. Okay. Yeah, I think the CEO thing is heavy for me and hard because I didn't have that example growing up of a South Asian woman who did this. Ingenuity, eventually, it was great to see her, but she has a very different personality from me. She was the former CEO of PepsiCo, which was huge. But when I see her speak and talk, we're very different people. Mm-hmm. I say and I am not
You're not a polished Fortune 500 CEO.
That.
But I'm saying that in a positive way.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think that makes you more relatable than the person up there who doesn't say or
Yeah.
and is reading off the teleprompter. By messages that were approved by the PR department.
That. I think I went to a conference recently and I was going through the fundraising process and it was a WWD conference and it was every CEO of every brand, every investor, every publication. They're all there in one room.
Wow. A lot of horsepower.
Wild. they asked me to speak at it. And along with me was like the president of Sephora, the CEO of Sephora, the president of Estee Lauder companies, all of these people.
Wow.
It was incredible to be in that room and hear them all speak, but it was also very clear that they all had PR approved, teleprompter answers, which again, I learned from it, but yeah, it was a different kind of thing. I think what worked for me when I was up there was exactly what you said. Like, I was literally just myself. I made some jokes, but not intentional. I was just talking.
Yeah.
People were like, I think it was refreshing to them. And I had so many people hit me up afterwards to be investors in the company. And actually one of them is now our investor. And so I do think it's working for me, but I think I still have a deep-rooted insecurity around it just because there isn't a lot of people like me as CEOs. And I question a lot, and I have now an executive coach because I want to be it. I want to be the person who takes this company to whatever the end exit is in whatever form. But I also want to do what's best for the business. And what I constantly question and go through in my brain is that person going to be me? Or should I bring in someone else and be the founder of the business? And the day-to-day, I wake up, and every time I do a beauty influencer video, it doesn't bring me nearly as much joy as running this business and being the CEO and working with the employees and driving the business forward. But it's that I will say that the one thing I've ever had self-doubt, this is the first time in my life I feel like I have a little bit of an imposter syndrome around should it be me.
Yeah.
Even though I've just told you a million times with everything else.
Yeah. And you also just gave me a million reasons why it should be you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going through it. I'm figuring it out. Hopefully in a few years I'm going to be like, now I'm that Fortune 500 CEO of Live Tinted, you know?
But you know what I think it all comes down to in your background as a creator, it's authenticity is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Right? You look at the most successful creators. You look at Nemba Chamberlain. Mm-hmm. She's authentically her. Now, it doesn't matter if now she's in a different space and she's at the Met Gala or she's running, she's on the runway in Milan with, Prada or somebody. Yeah. But she's still that sarcastic, snarky kind of girl who drinks coffee in her videos.
Yep.
That's her. And the more polished she becomes doesn't mean that goes away.
Yeah.
And I think for you at least, there shouldn't be a reason why. Okay, so you work on your public speaking, you don't say as much and stuff. Yeah. But you're still cracking jokes.
Yeah,
and
true.
You're still you. And when I sit in those things, and I came from corporate America, and when I'm watching the CEO, and I know the backstory, I know they practiced this 100 times with the board of directors, and everybody gave notes, and it comes out so
stiff. Yeah,
comes out so stiff.
No, you're right.
It's refreshing kind of with your approach.
You're right. And I will say, because of the other creators in the world, like the Liza Koshis, Emma's, like everyone you're saying, who are breaking those boundaries and going to things that are traditionally meant for celebrities, I think I'm now seeing that translate into the business world. Like I told you, I just did a thing with Amex right before this. I think I thought I had to be this person to get those kinds of partnerships.
They didn't call you because you were that person.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
What does the future of the company look like for you? We talked about your career aspirations, the CEO path, but let's go down to the product level. Like, what does the company look like? What are you guys working on, and where do you see it going in the future?
Well, I just moved back to LA last week. During the pandemic, I moved home to Texas to be with my family. I'm back in LA, and the main reason was because I just wanted to be around my team. It's so fun. I was just in the office yesterday, and like the decision making just goes quicker, and it's just like faster, and we're growing and building, and it's really exciting. We started this time last year in Ulta Beauty, and as of I think a couple days ago, we're officially in all doors, 1,300 doors for Ulta.
Wow.
And we started as one shelf, and we're now in a big display next to Fenty Beauty in a select number of their doors. And I mean, anyone who is in the beauty retail world will know that that is a really exciting big deal. And I'm just excited to grow. I feel like the last few years were like chapter 1, 2, 3, and we're getting to the meat now. It was a learning curve that happened, and I'm ready to just build and scale.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Just get bigger, quicker.
That.
Yeah.
Because I think in the beginning, I was like, I want to actually talk to this community. I want to learn what they want from us. I want to actually hear from them. What products do you want to see? I don't want to just put things into the world to put things into the world. But they have made it very loud and clear that they want to see us win. They want to see us in every door because they see themselves in every door then. Mm-hmm. And they want to see as many products and to grow into the biggest beauty brand in the world because that makes them feel seen.
Do the new products you're developing come from them, or are you at the point where, we've heard the same things over and over and over again? We have a list of things we haven't made yet that we know there's a market for.
So the first few years, it was just a bunch of asking the questions. We had people come to my house, like literally, and try on the products, tell us what they think is missing. That's what the last 3 years were. At this point, it's a little bit more of what you said is like making products takes an 18 to 24 month. Like if you're doing it right and really creating new stuff.
Oh, wow.
I think if it's things that already exist and you're tweaking, it's more like a 12-month cycle. So they're like, the pipeline is like in the works for sure. But they're still a part of the process in the sense of like shade matching, like making sure we send them the products ahead of time to make sure that like it works for every skin tone, helping us with naming things. Those are the different, it's just kind of shifted rather than it being the very direct, hey, what do you want to see from us? They told us what they want to see. Now it's like, let's make sure it works for you.
Yep. And make sure we market in the right way and it's professional and it's on brand. And now you have a whole different thing.
By the way, you asked this question, I didn't even answer it. You were
Go
saying how my grid, my everything was, I wanted it to be this like picture perfect brand. That, so beautiful.
You're right, we forgot that. Yeah.
And it didn't do that because of the million things behind the scenes. We were like, screw it. Like we did do a shoot, but again, it wasn't like, well, we did this, so now we can't just post me. It's got to be like this aesthetically pleasing, whatever.
Yeah.
It's still not like that. Years later, I realized that our community, and maybe, it'll evolve. We don't have a creative director in-house right now. And it's just like, people like the authenticity of it just being scrappy. The videos that do the best for us are the ones where they do look like that over a product photo that's like beautifully designed. And so, maybe as we scale as a brand, we have these conversations. Does it need to change? Maybe then with new people, right? Now we're doing performance marketing and paid ads and stuff. As they come, will they want to see that? Or do people just like people who are real? And how do you find that in-between balance? That's the question. So anyways, I think that is interesting to share because a lot of people get nervous about the like, I'm building a brand, I need to have the fancy photographer and the really like thought out grid. And I feel like the whole world has shifted.
100%. And just like you said in the beginning, the beginning of your story, I don't have fancy equipment to make this YouTube video, but I got a phone and I got a weekend and there's YouTube to figure this stuff out.
It all started with the viral beauty hack. I think I tell my team that all the time when they freak out about things. They freak out because I'm freaking out, and then I have to kind of level set all of us to say it all started with the beauty hack.
Yeah.
How simple and easy was that? Let's not overthink it. Anytime we overthink it, we spend money on all the like fancy things. We did an agency to help us with creative. Every single time we've done these things, we've always gone back to how the brand started. A simple beauty hack. So I think that hopefully makes it feel a little easier for people out there.
How can people get over perfectionism, like especially as a young creator, where it's got to look right? I don't have the fanciest camera. My video's doesn't look good at the other people who are doing it. How do you get over that and just get started without being paralyzed by fear?
Well, I hope the TikTok world makes people feel like it's a little easier because
that's true.
What wins on TikTok is
just
the scrappiest.
Scrappy, yeah.
Me just like the one, I did a video of my parents going into Ulta for the first time, and that one went viral like 6 times over. It was like E! News, Good Morning America. I mean, everyone posted it. It was crazy seeing my parents on E! News. Like, what? That was cool. But yeah, I think it was just a video on an iPhone of them going in and just a real human moment.
Yeah.
So I think if you can't get over your perfectionism because you're worried about the business. The best way for the business is to be imperfect right now.
Isn't that true? And that's what people are scared of, is being imperfect. Everybody wants to be perfect. Everyone wants to sit at the cool table. But guess what? You can make your own cool table. That's what you did.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's a great thing to end on, is you end up making your own cool table. And do you feel confident being there and looking over at the blonde girls with the blue eyes and being, hey, they got their own thing going, that's okay, but I got my own thing going over here?
I think the moment it hit me was this time last year, I threw the Diwali party, which is a festival of lights, a really big deal in Indian culture. And for the first time ever, there was a room of 20 South Asian women in media sitting together around a table celebrating each other. Mindy Kaling was there, Meena Harris, Priyanka Chopra, Lily Singh, Liza Koshy. I mean, name all the names that you know within media.
Yeah.
And I felt so proud that my company brought those women together. And along with Meena Harris and Phenomenal, we came together and we said, let's do this together. And I think it comes from Meena's, grew up with a grandma who taught her, and obviously her aunt, Kamala Harris. Like it taught them as a family clearly that we can win together. And that's clearly what Kamala Harris wants to do, and that Meena does it. And we came together to show. And I think it is just a ripple effect, and us showing that we came together to create our own cool kids table, and we all look alike.
Yeah.
It was really powerful. We cheers to it and said to bigger tables in the future. And that, to me, was the validation I needed to say, like, we don't need to be at your table. We built our own.
And not only, your table is also different, another reason. The cool kid table excludes people. You're not cool enough to sit at my table.
Yeah.
What are you doing, freshman? Get out of here, right? But yours, like, pull up a chair.
Yeah,
Why
that's
not?
what I hope. That's what I want the ethos of Live Tinted to be, is like, you do belong.
Well, thank you so much. I think that's a great message to end on.
Thank you.
Doesn't
Thanks
get
for
any
having
better
me.
than that.
Totally.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Check out the podcast too. A lot of people don't have an hour to sit down and watch a YouTube video dedicated. So check out the podcast, The Tom Ward Show, everywhere you get podcasts. And make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications. We do new videos every Tuesday at 10 a.m. with probably the most diverse group of entrepreneurs on the planet. You get inspiration, motivation, and real tips on how to start or grow your business. So thanks, guys.